The next thing I wanted to show you is how to harvest yarn from somewhere on your garment if you're looking to take it from one area and then repair a hole in another area. Sometimes you can undo the side seam of a knitted garment, you'll be able to take the yarn from there, but quite often you'll find that side seams are now sewn together using a different kind of thread and it doesn't match the rest of the garment or isn't the right weight. Or if something is knit in the round, there won't be any side seam at all. Ideally, you want to harvest some yarn from a discrete area on the garment, so for example the inside neckline or hem, or even the cuff of a jumper but on the inside, and then that way when you sew it back together you can use a slightly off colour match, but it will be hidden somewhere on the inside of the garment and won't be visible. To harvest a length of yarn from a stocking stitch like this one, it looks scary, but what we need to do is just make one snip in one half of a V-stitch like that, and then use a needle to pull each half of a V-stitch one by one to unravel the yarn. Depending on the fibre content of the jumper or the knitwear that you're doing this with, the stitches and the yarn may have felted together slightly, so you'll need to do this carefully. This is actually an old acrylic jumper, but somehow the stitches still feel like they're very much matted together, so it's really worth just pulling one stitch at a time so that you don't pull any of the other stitches out of alignment. So there you can see I've unravelled just one row of stitches. I've got my tail thread here, which is the yarn I want to harvest. I can trim that off and then use that yarn for the repair on the main body or wherever it is that I want a discrete yarn match. And then I can stitch this back together using a grafting stitch. If you've harvested yarn from an area of stocking stitch like this and you need to stitch it back together, this is what's called a grafting stitch. And to do that, I'm going to insert my needle a few centimetres away, bring it up to the V-stitch that's just next to where my split in the row starts, duplicate that first stitch, and then start closing those loops back together again. So to do that, I'm going to go down into this loop at the top and then up through the loop next to it. Pull that through and then go down into the same loop that I came up from, up through the next loop, pull that through and then go down into the same loop I came up from and then up through the loop next to it. So you're always going to go through every loop twice. You'll go down and then up again, down and then up again at the bottom. Don't pull too tightly at this stage. As always with any of these Swiss darning techniques, we can adjust the tension at the end, but you'll just continue in the same way, picking up 2 loops at a time and closing that split back up. When you reach the other side, you can just make those last few stitches to close up the hole and add a few more securing ones if you want to, and then pull your thread through to the wrong side. So that's the area closed back up, and then on the back you should be able to see your new stitches here.